Lumity One-Shots by its_Kingston. Summary. Just one-shots about Lumity. I have too many ideas, and not enough brain space to make them into full books. Plus, I might explode if I don't write them out. It could be anything from angst to fluff, if it's particularly dark. I'll add a warning. I'll take requests, but nothing NSFW. Updates are random, and only when I have an idea. Chapter 1. Nightlights. Lou sat on top of Bunker on her bed, bouncing with anticipation. Since her 7th birthday had just passed, her mother hesitantly deemed her old enough to attend a summer camp. Looking out the window, Luce couldn't see anything. It was incredibly late at night, and she was supposed to be asleep like the other kids in her cabin, but she was unable to control her excitement. Luce lay down in her bed, rolling over to face the wooden cabin wall in the dim glow of her nightlight. She could make out the cracks and textures of the wall and began tracing her fingers across them, impatiently awaiting sleep. Still, unable to keep her eyes closed for more than a second, she rolled onto her back and stared at the ceiling, listening to the sounds around her. The crinkled chips, happily outside, their music filling the night with an unmistakable sound, the soft breathing of the other kids as they slept, getting plenty of rest for tomorrow's activities. And Luce sat up, squinting into the darkness. Around the cabin, as if that would help her listen better, she could hear soft whimpers and sniffling. Someone in the cabin crying. Luce eventually figured out the source of the noise. The bunker below hers. Poking her head off the edge of the mattress and looking down, she saw a girl sitting up, wiping her eyes against her face. "Are you okay?" Luce whispered, startling the girl. "I didn't mean to wake you up. I'm sorry." The crying girl murmured. Luce practically jumped down the ladder and sat on the edge of the girl's bed. "I asked if you were okay." Luce retracted, refusing to leave her spot she had sat in. "I'm—" The girl trailed off, rubbing her teary eyes and sniffling again. "My mom said that I'm 7 and I'm too old to use a nightlight." "Well, your mom isn't here. Just use it and not tell her," Lou said, giving a triumphant smile. The girl shook her head. "She took it from me and wouldn't let me bring it," she explained. "What? That's not fair," Lou said, forgetting to lower her voice. "Oh, sorry," she whispered, looking around to make sure no one woke up. The girl giggled, causing Luce to smile. "Do you need the nightlight?" Luce asked. The girl frowned and nodded. "I'm scared of the dark," she said, grasping her hands tighter. Luce put a hand on her shoulder before quickly standing up and clambering back up the ladder. The girl was confused and watched as Luce returned, holding something in her hand. Luce held out to the girl. "Here, you can use my light while you're here." "Are you sure?" the girl asked, looking up towards Luce, who still stood with her arms stretched. "Of course," Luce said, nodding her head. "Thank you," the girl mumbled, gently taking the nightlight out of Luce's hand and turning it on. When the light flashed on, Luce was able to clearly see the girl. Short, green hair hung down from the girl's shoulder. Pieces stuck out and covered her golden eyes, which seemed to shine brighter as she tightly clutched Luce's nightlight. "Oh, yeah, I'm Luce," she said, holding out her hand for a fist bump. "I'm Amity," the girl said, skeptically returning the gesture. She had placed the nightlight on the table beside her bed, facing the glowing light as she lay down. "Thank you, again, for letting me use your nightlight." Luce grinned and waved as she climbed back up the ladder, settling comfortably in her bed. After pulling the blanket on top of herself, Luce quietly called down, "Good night, Amity." Once a few silent moments passed, Luce shifted in bed, poking her head over the edge yet again, to check on her new friend. When Luce looked over the edge, she saw Amity, already peacefully asleep, curled up and breathing loudly in the glow of the nightlight. Now content, Luce yawned and maneuvered herself back into a comfortable position, closing her eyes and drifting off to sleep. Okay, so I think for this series, every time that I get Okay, I think for this series, every time we read one chapter, which is one shot, which is why I'm not combining chapters to make it like at least 10 minutes long or 20 minutes long or whatever. Because they're one-shots, dude. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna sit here and I'm going to further the story with my words alone and theories and how this could go. Like, okay, hear me out, right? They have a little bonding and Amity never returns that nightlight. Amity accidentally takes it. It's not like she took it on purpose and stole it. It's a I forgot to give it back kind of moment. But by the time she realized she needed to give it back, she was already back home, right? And by the time that Luce realized that her nightlight was gone, she was already back home. So, oh no, nightlight is gone. Years pass by. They are now, I don't know, 14, 15, 16, 13, however many teen you want to talk. But they're now older. And they still go to camp sometimes, but they never go to the same camp until one summer when they finally go to the same camp. And Amity always brings that nightlight with her because she always wants to return it. She is in hopes that she will see this Luce again and return that nightlight. And so they meet up at camp once again. This is a 2-week camp, and they go, and Amity finally returns Luce's nightlight, and they talk. And then slowly that talking goes into them falling in love. And I don't know, they could have cute nicknames for each other, like Amity could call Luce Nightlight, and Luce could call Amity, I don't know. I don't know. That's one way it could go. That is one way it could go. Another way it could go is that they just meet up in high school. But I think I like them meeting up in a camp again. Oh my god, and then they could watch the stars together, like, one night. And that's, like, how they confess to each other, right? So, like, they're watching the stars together, and, like, I don't know, I know you had Luce confess the other time. You almost always have Luce confess. Hold up. Do you? Kingston? I don't think I've been keeping score. Has Amity been always the one that confessed? I mean, Luce, not Amity. Okay, I'll have Amity confess this time. Amity turns around and is like, oh my god, I like you. Luce is like, oh my god, I like you too. They kiss, and then we could have the angst beat. Audia doesn't want them to be together, and the long distance, right? That will be the overall angst. Long distance, Audia doesn't want them to be together, so Audia takes away all of Amity's devices to be able to communicate with Luce. And they could communicate through that little taco, the little thingy that they did in the show. You know, the thingy with, like, the little, oh my god, that would be so cute. I'm sorry. I have a lot of ideas. I could spur on a lot of ideas, but that could be a cute little story. A little like, I don't think it could be 40,000 words long, or like, there is, okay, Kingston. We talked about this before, but Kingston tends to write shorter stories while I tend to write longer stories, mainly because I like to put a lot of detail and a lot of shit in my story and a lot of filler, right? And some stories of mine just don't work if there's not a lot of filler, right? They just don't. They don't. Point blank, they don't, right? Like, for example, a Fluffy Mind, it cannot work if it's not long. There's some that have to forcefully be long. Headlock is another one that has to be long. There is no way I can make that one short. If I made it short, it would be rushed. But there is some stories of mine that I see and I'm like, okay, this one probably is going to be shorter. Like for example, the line, the lyric and the line. That one is going to be definitely shorter. Mainly because the main controversy is not going to be there. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do for angst on that one. I don't know. Maybe there won't be angst. Maybe the whole thing is just them getting together and then I'll have them be together and there'd be no angst. I'm going to find a way to add angst in there somehow. But yeah. Anyways, the story that I just mentioned, the continuation, quote unquote, would probably only be like 20,000 words long, around there. Probably shorter if I'm being honest, but it's cute. Kingston, you do not have to write it. It's just something that comes in mind for myself to do. Plus, it would be complicated. It would be complicated. It's easy to sit here and say like, oh, it could go like this. And then once you actually sit down and write it, it's like, well, shit. I know that I need to go from point A to B, but like, what do I do in the middle? You know, kind of situation. I feel you there. I do that a lot. Yeah. Anyways, I really enjoyed this, Kingston. This was a really cute little one shot, and I cannot wait for the next one. The next one is called Money. Okay. Oh, okay. Money. Okay. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.